Give him the highest praise. Hallelujah. Give me the highest praise. In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. Hallelujah to my King. Hallelujah to my Father. Hallelujah to my Jesus. I bow before the throne. When I look at all the wonder and I see all the creation, the beauty of the universe, you never, never change. You never, never lie. You never, never change. You never, never care. Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Giving. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Give him the highest praise. Hallelujah. Give him the highest praise.
I'm on. You gotta send your email link. I told you.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
The worshiping, oh, he gave me life. I will praise his name. I'm here to praise my God because he gave me life. Come celebrate, come jubilate, come now worship him. He deserves the praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise. Hallelujah, giving, hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Ooh, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. Sing praises to Jehovah. Lift up your hands and worship. Lift up your voice and praise. Hallelujah. I lift up my life for Jesus. I will worship you, Yahweh, Yahweh. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah to Jesus.
Okay, good evening, folks. I'm Francis and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners here this evening. Very shortly, we will get this program going, and a lot has been unfolding behind the scenes, and so we're going to have a conversation going. And someone here with the expertise, we will be getting their take as well as our contributors and analysts standing by at across. Amos George, the Liberal Progressive, Samson Brown Toll will be here. But someone special is here, not strange to this network and not strange with the happening around when it comes to these sort of depths that is being questioned and people try to find an answer. Dr. Rockefeller is here. We're going to be having this conversation. I'm Alfonso Z, and so there are new revelations coming in as well. We yet to define the authenticity of those information. Stay tuned. Let's get the ball rolling. Okay, let's see here. Let me bring in Dr. Rockefeller is here. Okay, hopefully you will get our image. So let's see whether we can get the program going. Dr. Rockefeller F. Cooper the second. That good evening and welcome on LPR. Good for you to be back here.
Yes, yes. Thank you. As always, the pleasure is mine.
Okay. How things been? We've been a little while. We have not shared notes. Good to have you here. Usually, when it requires to tap in the expertise of people, that's where everybody, like Bremen say, everybody get their area. So, people that get their area, it's good to have a conversation, this sort of national conversation with them. Good evening. How
Yes.
have you been so far?
Well, so far so good. We've been tied down with COVID cases here, as far as death investigation is concerned. Looking into the actual cause of death as it relates to COVID. So it's been quite an interesting year, say year and a half actually. But we've been busy, but as usual, it's always a pleasure to address issues back at home. Um, and so I'm here tonight to answer all of your questions per your request.
Okay. This is a very painful situation. This is something, let me put the individual here. May her soul rest in peace. Beautiful Princess Copper. I've been to working behind the scene, which seems to be getting some information. I monitor phone network. Moses Carter, I tried to reach out. We yet to get confirmation. I monitor the family doctor or family spokesperson, if you will, to say. I feel there are a lot of still unanswered questions, and I hope I have the chance to also dialogue, to have that conversation with Mr. Carter, not to be judgmental, to also hear precisely what we're going to be saying. But let's get to this here. I'm quite sure you've been monitoring. When it comes to these cases, it's not strange to you in Liberia. You've been monitoring. Let me start off from here. What are you hearing from your colleagues and friends? You with the expertise, what are you hearing from back home relative to the late Princess Cooper?
Well, so quite frankly, I have not interacted with anyone directly per se. I did speak with someone at the LNP, and basically everything that was relayed on the Spoon network from the LNP's perspective was the same thing that I was told. But you know, it is quite it is quite a sad atmosphere that has been created over the country, and where we find ourselves basically, and this is just my personal concern, women's rights. Okay. Of course, all lives matter, but with everything that's been happening, questionable deaths surrounding women, it has gotten to the point where you could easily classify it as being mind-boggling. So, because basically women are being, well, let me not even say women, but females as a whole, because you have babies being raped. Then, of course, there's death involved, and then even those on the older side of the spectrum, middle-aged women, older women. So at this point in time, I really don't know what is going on, and I hope that we can make sense out of this.
Okay, I don't really know what is going on. I too thinking in that direction. We're monitoring. I've been following the case. One of the first journalists, a very young Bafon from Sister Network Cool FM. I've been in extensive conversations, and I would hope to get in here. Phone call came. This young lady was running her errands, maybe her business, with the hope you leave in your house to go back home, went to this facility, and that was the end of the whole thing. That's such a mystery. I've been saying that. I've been talking to some folks right here in my own ocean state of Rhode Island, but these videos that we have shared with the expertise, the forensic crime scene area here in the cities of Pawtucket. I hope they were going to give me the opportunity, as they said, they need consent, because it's not something I hear. And so, but I'm hoping that somebody want to talk to you. How possibly can this be? You get a phone call. I heard lately there's it seems to be some identity being established, but we yet to verify that. And this person went there. If Dr. Rockefeller has gone on that scene, what could be the first thing that comes to mind?
Okay, well, good question. So you see, as you said, if I first of all, let me backtrack. I backtrack a little bit. So here's the situation, Alfonso. This area would be somewhat a considered as a secluded / restricted area.
Break
Okay.
it down to the ordinary people there who don't understand.
Yes.
Terminology.
So when you watch the videos, this lady went to the, I believe it's called, is it what, Fawaz building store or so. Okay. And that building is enclosed when you look at the back portion of it. So first of all, it's a private property. Right. Number two, it is enclosed, right? It has, if you see where the decedent was, / where the death, we're looking at the death scene with as in a potential crime scene, it is enclosed. So definitely it is not a public place where, for example, her remains was found on Broad Street or some public center. That means that she went there for a particular reason. That is the first thing from a forensic standpoint. Okay. People saw her go there. Individuals in the building as well as the security. Okay. Now, looking at the scene.
Let me bring in the liberal progressive here. Something Blocko Brown told here. He's
sure.
Host, contributor, and host of conversation with Sam Center. The only thing is he's a liberal, and I'm not in that direction, but that's a different thing. Let me just bring in the liberal here this evening. The liberal progressive. Why are you wearing almost the same shirt I'm wearing?
Mr. So, good evening, and good evening to our guest, Doc. Good evening to you as well.
Good evening.
I don't want to get this conversation polluted. Doc, go ahead.
Yes. So, first of all, I did go to the scene virtually. So there were video coverages, and they were covered extensively to reveal the pertinent forensic information that will be needed by someone who is who is familiar with the science itself, as in forensic sciences. And my key focus was on the blood stain pattern. So of course that now brings in the blood stain pattern analysis. I don't know if you have pictures of where the body was, but you will see that the blood, the blood.
I'm going to bring that in a few. Or the
okay.
Video, whatever. I want to bring that. Hopefully Facebook share all down. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yes. So when you look at it, okay, you can see that blood was basically being expelled or dispersed in a certain format, okay, based on the blood stain pattern analysis. Now, that is something where you will not have the ordinary investigator to tell you about, okay? But based on my observation virtually, that body needs to be examined forensically. Okay, so it needs to be examined forensically.
Not physical review, like Dr. Momont, the family did some physical review, but he was also crystal clear that that's not the end of it. There could be potential follow-up that will bring into place what you are just talking about.
Yes. So here's the situation, because I believe you are now referring to the Spoon TV segment of yesterday. Okay. So when it comes to examining a body can be examined clinically, and it can also be examined forensically. The same thing with a post-mortem examination. You can have a clinical post-mortem examination versus a forensic post-mortem examination. Okay. And of course, I have worked in both areas. So if I was looking at the body at the same time that Dr. Momo was, I would have been doing it from a different perspective. But I was able to understand where he was coming from as far as, his examination, was concerned. However, it did not cross all of the T's, neither did it dot all of the I's, if that makes any sense.
So
And that's what.
let me pause
Go
here.
ahead.
And Lebra, if you want to come in, don't hesitate. You understand where he was coming from. I was watching the last few yesterday, and there was some sort of backlash coming from viewers. Oh, he's being compromised, or he's not the right person. But in my own opinion, he took it professionally. Where was he coming from?
Well, so this was what he did as a medical professional. He tried to establish the existence or non-existence of foul play. But again, given that situation, the examiner must have some sort of experience in forensics. Okay, there are certain things that I would have been looking for, and there are certain things that I won't divulge yet now because I'm very interested in hearing what the government findings are going to be. So because I'm going to stay on the surface so that I don't create any form of a bias. Okay. The body should have been, as a matter of fact, the body by now should have been autopsied, given all of the reasons that I've discussed above. But for those who may just be joining, one, where the body was found. This lady was not a patient who was ill and about to collapse. There's a reason. I keep saying this. There's a reason why she went to that building. So the first thing that needs to happen, okay, is that, you see, so let me backtrack. For me, Mr. Zion, what, being well-rounded in the field of forensics, I'm able to make certain deductions so as to bring forth a theory, okay, from the crime scene / death scenes perspective, as well as the post-mortem exam. All right. Here's what needs to happen. We need to establish, or the government of Liberia needs to establish, a triangular effect. We have the scene, we have the decedent, and the last angle to complete the triangle, we need to have a suspect or a person or persons of interest.
Okay.
Now, we know for a fact that
the multiple people we are talking about now, that should be
well, that's what I'm saying. Well, it all depends, and I can give you certain multiple scenarios. What if it was a business deal that went wrong? Okay, and this young lady, this young lady was assaulted. Now, again, I know that the police director has said that there was no sign of any physical assault, such as laceration. But there are other ways. With those of us that are okram in the field of forensics know exactly what to do to a person so that those obvious findings will not be seen by the naked eye. Again, I will not be revealing those because those can go into the wrong ears, and then somebody may decide to carry out. Okay.
You injected something very critical. Liberat, if you want to come in, just come in. I'm quite sure you're working your things behind the scene. Something I was a little bit, should I say, disappointed, or I was a little bit surprised I didn't get a pushback from iSpoon. And this is why for us, we don't just jump into this conversation. We more or less do our own background and like to, because Moses Carter came out first to say there was no foul play. I don't know how he came up to that. I don't know how he arrived at that point. And the Dr. Momo said there was some on the either upper or on the forehead. There was some sort of bruise. So
right.
I thought the angle or host were pushed back to Moses Carter, who happens to be the police spokesperson. How can he reconcile based on his statement and that of the statement of the doctor? That was, it just went away.
Yes. So let me address that. And this is a constant error that is made by the Liberia National Police. And the reason why these errors basically seem to be in continuous motion is based on the fact that proper planning, or should I say proper elements, have not been put in place so as to address questionable deaths in Liberia. Okay? What should have happened is that this young lady's body should have been autopsied during the earliest possible time. With that being said, both individuals, okay, both the police spokesman Moses Carter and Dr. Momo, who have both been right within their explanation, within their observations or / information given to them, because I think spokesman Carter was basically relaying information I was given to him, as opposed to the information that was being brought forth by Dr. Momo, who carried out an actual exam. One, when you go to examine a body, you do not just examine the body for lacerations or bruises. Okay? In order to carry out a full-fledged examination, you must have the necessary training to do so. With that being said, looking at what Dr. Momo stated, yes, as a medical doctor, you are trained to carry out physical examinations. Okay, so it is possible that his examinations were correct. However, I repeat, however, when a body is being moved or transported, we have something that's called postmortem artifact, meaning anything that happened to the body after the person had died. So, for example, if you're moving a person that's heavy and maybe you're dragging the body and the person the body gets scratches, okay, or scrape or an abrasion, it doesn't mean that that person's, that injury now contributed to the death of the person, but rather it occurred after the fact. Again, those can only be deciphered during a forensic post-mortem examination. And of course, with that being said, you need someone who is forensically inclined.
Was it a right thing? Was it a right thing for he to come out front to address the situation?
When you say for he, who's he?
Dr. Momo to come. It seems to be his argument. He wants to clear the air, but there were a lot of unanswered questions in regard to that because he needs to get details of that. I am surprised that area, the CCTV or camera, this is a very serious thing. This is not in isolation. I'm beginning to think as to whether that's the first time such a thing, other things been happening there, but this one surfacing, the surroundings of that building, how it's being sealed up. How did this person get in? According to Moses Carter yesterday, the video recording is still not yet in possession of the government. That's a serious concern.
Yes, I don't, and you know what? And to be honest, you see, here is the problem, Mr. Zion. You don't need, at this point in time, you don't need the CCTV, because I would be surprised if they're able to get hold of this CCTV. One, I'm not sure, I might be wrong, but I'm not sure as to whether or not there was any CCTV cameras in place to begin with. Number two, if there were indeed any CCTV cameras in place, I'm not sure if there were any at the back of the building, so as to give a visual narrative or display of what occurred during that fateful afternoon. But what I can tell you definitely is that, looking at the bloodstain pattern, okay, looking at the environment, the body needs to be examined forensically because something happened. What happened? Now, let me tell you this. When we talk about blood-stain
Let me
pattern,
not interrupt you. Something happened. Let's bring this breaking down. We are getting some information. We've been working this story here. There is a picture here. We are being told this individual was around that proximity, was in extensive conversation, and we're doing a lot of talking, but the identity, the proper identity of this individual is yet to be established. He was given a lot of information, given a lot of direction with respect to the late princess. This is what we are hearing. We yet to establish the identity and the true facts surrounding all of this here. But it seems to me, gradually, something will happen. Go ahead. And we're going to bring you more.
Before the Doc go out, let me ask this question. Doc, have you been, first of all, thank you for providing such a valuable information to our audience. I really appreciate that. But I was wondering, have you been contacted by either the family, the government, or any institution that is involved in this at all?
No, I have not.
And if you were to be contacted, will you make your services available to that purpose?
It depends. I have very keen interest in this case, so it depends. But first, I would like the government to, to play its role, and then after that, we can, we can look and see other avenues to explore. I'm sorry.
No, another question I was wondering, and I have several more anyway. But another question is, say for example, can anybody in your capacity, in your having that kind of experience that you have done so many of those things, can you stay out of Liberia and be able to do an effective investigation on this thing here, or you have to be on there?
Well, no. So it depends. For example, look, let me say this. Well, by the way, let me just put out a little disclaimer, because I know some people will look at it different. I'm not aware of having any blood ties to the decedent. Okay, so because obviously, there are several cliques of Coopers all over the country, even though I have Coopers on both sides of my family. So, with that being said, this case is clear cut. Few months ago.
In what context?
I'm sorry?
In what context?
Oh, as far as with the points that I raised, when you look at the entry to where the young lady was, okay, it is very restricted. You have to go down a stairway, go through like a little tunnel, and then you get to the back. All right. So that means that it is controlled. It is not like something happened, like I was telling you earlier, on Broad Street, where you're trying to figure out who did what. Yeah, this young lady.
Doc, I don't mean to interrupt. I was wondering, with your analysis on the social media and everywhere else, are you not concerned that perhaps you might be, and for the lack of better word, polluting the investigation, or to be?
No, I'm not polluting the investigation. No, I'm not. Now, freeze. I would like you to freeze the video right there. Freeze that video right there. Right there. Freeze it. Okay. Now, I want you to look at this, right? You see, I want you now to look at the lower right corner of the screen. You see the blood that's there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Now, follow it. You see it goes basically at a 45-degree angle, and then it goes towards the wall. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right by that small, what would be like it looks like a coconut tree. Do you see that?
Yeah, coconut tree, yeah.
Okay. And then to the left of that, you see the decedent, right?
Yes.
So this lady came from somewhere, and she was spilling out blood, and she made it to her last, took her last steps. She fell and she passed out.
It says something like probably was finding it difficult to catch a breath and or trying to find an outlet, something.
No, sir. There was an internal injury. You again, now let me, so let's say if you can, I don't know if you can take the video forward a little bit to see if we can go beyond that. No, let's take it on back so we can get beyond. Yes, the more of it we can show, the better. So from that point, so she can, okay, stop right there. Now, are you able to blow up the video?
Yes.
Okay, so now that's you're showing the other side. That would be like, that's the back side. Like on the other side, that would be like, okay, yes. Now on the, no, so that's the back side of it. You need to go back, just go back to the same area and I will take it from there.
Right here?
Okay, now even if we stop, no, that's the back side, because now where you are right now is as if you are standing in front of the body and looking across. So you have to okay, stop right there. Yes, no, go back.
No, okay.
Go back to where we were.
Okay, hold on one second.
Yes, stop right there. Okay, she started to expel blood, okay, as what would be considered as like vomiting blood or coughing out blood from that point. And then she moved, and then towards the wall. Okay, you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so blood was being dispersed, and the volume, because the area is sandy, so every quantity of blood or volume of blood that is expelled, you have that display in the sand. Okay, and she made it with it. So even though the police is saying that there was no sign of laceration, that means nothing. The Liberia National Police needs to have a system in place. You've heard about all these deaths. Did you hear about the case of James Dukley?
James Dukley.
Exactly. Now I know, and the reason why I hear, that it seems you just told me basically that you have not. So the coroner of the Republic of Liberia requested my assistance in the death investigation of James Dukley when I was in Liberia this past June. And the reason why, Mr. Zion, you have not heard about that case is because I handle it professionally. And so there was no noise because everything was done as was supposed to be. Families in Liberia, according to some law that they have, is they will let the police know like when to examine the body, basically in order for the police to move forward. And I made them to understand that families cannot determine your examination or how far you examine the body, because at the end of the day, it is the government's responsibility, okay, to address the establishment and causes of death of each and every one of its citizens, especially when there are questions. I'm sorry?
When lack of trust is also a factor in, it puts the family in a volatile position. What do?
Well, here is the issue with lack of trust. First of all, again, you must have, so let me just go back and use the James Dukley case as a point of reference. I met with the family. I met with the LMP, representatives from both sections that were going to be present for the exam. The reason here is this: James Dukley, it was alleged that he was electrocuted and beaten at the LEC, which was his place of employment. Okay. Before the family members and the representatives that were there, I was able to prove to them from an external examination that there was no physical assault and there was no sign of electrocution. So meaning the man was not beaten to death, neither was he electrocuted. The family now, and I told them that for us, in order for anything to be done, we're going to do both an external and an internal exam. To make a long story short, I was able to show to them that basically his death was due to a cardiopulmonary effect. So basically, he had a blood clot that that stopped him from breathing, and he passed away. So it's not that the government of Liberia was responsible for his death, or somebody basically was responsible for it. So when you do something professionally, if the family, even if the family members or anyone decide to raise an issue, then you are able to to address the matter. Okay. And that was exactly how the matter was handled. This case right now involving Princess Cooper, it should have been autopsied by now. You don't keep the body installed and be waiting, and then you're losing evidence. It's also possible this young lady went there as a possibility. She went there. She could have, maybe somebody may have assaulted her. Like I said earlier, it could have been a business deal that went bad. What if somebody was trying to see?
Let me ask you this, Doc. And I'm just basically throwing this question out there. I have no background in this area whatsoever, but I have common sense. I'm just trying to throw the question out there. Is it also not possible that perhaps before even getting to the area that she must have sustained some sort of a internal injury, whereby maybe some sort of a blood vessel burst, and it can that happen and create some sort of a bleeding, internal bleeding that perhaps might not even be being the cause of anybody in that area, and it just happened that she got there and then she started experiencing whatever she was experiencing. Is it possible?
No, it is not.
Why?
The reason is this: if she started bleeding, okay, that means that we would have had a blood trail taking place, from the entrance of the building. That's one. Number two, there would have been a compromise of her what we refer to in medicine as hemodynamic instability. So there would have been issues going on, and she would have passed out. All of those things would have happened. So it is not possible for her to have had such an occurrence, and then it just doesn't make sense.
There's another question here. Just from your experience and based on the blood spatter pattern that you've been observing, we've all been looking at here, is it possible that her death could be caused? I mean, some sort of natural causes?
Well, it can be possible, because, and I would say that to say, let's say for example, if she had a medical history of gastric ulcer, and now we are going off a wild goose chase, because with that, like I said, she would have been on certain medication that her family would have known about. People, there would have been some sort of trail. That is basically the only way. Okay, and then again, here's the situation: if that would have happened, somebody at the facility would have known. Let me tell you basically what happened here. This case, I'm telling you now, the government of Liberia needs to look at this case from a criminalistic standpoint of view. Somebody or a group of individuals capitalize on two facts. One, the area was secluded. Nobody, and so that means that it's restricted from outside.
You don't just go in like that. Yes.
Okay. And number two, the generator sound. If you're yelling for help behind there, nobody will basically hear you. Go back to the video, in fact, and you will hear the generator sound. Okay. So this case, because the security guards that were there, they would have seen something, but they are still being questioned by the police, and nobody is basically seeing anything as yet. So this case should be looked at. One second. Yeah, 1 second. This case should be looked at criminalistically until otherwise proven for the given facts. If anywhere in the world, any country that means well for its citizens, take my advice to the bank Sunday morning and cash it. This case will be looked at from a criminalistic standpoint based on those two factors, the environment and a major occurrence. Okay, that generator sound going off, you yelling, and I want to believe that my voice is even deeper than hers. If I'm yelling for help behind there, I don't know if people will be able to get to me quicker. Again, go ahead.
And this is strictly speculation at this point because I have no clue on any of these things. But I'm sure. Like I said, common sense is there. So speculation at this point. Let me ask you this. So say, for example, she goes in there and she encounters speculation at this point. She encounters people, whoever, whatever. And they decide, can you, because we've been hearing and reading on Facebook that some people will have a tendency of putting cloth on your nose to make you pass out. And is there any, from your own background, is there any chemical that perhaps if injected or if it put in a system that will cause person to bleed such a way and be able to do that? No,
and that theory will not even exist in this case. You see, one thing that I've done during my studies in forensics was to pay keen attention, well, to not keen attention, but to develop great interest in the bloodstain pattern. I'm way over in the United States. The incident took place at EAW Junction, and I'm able to tell you straight up, basically, the steps that needs to be taken. One, the case should be looked at from a criminalistic standpoint. Number two, I emphasize on the bloodstain pattern. If she was, I'm sorry?
Yeah, and your point. I just want to draw a parallel line here, but and your point. I don't want to.
Yes, the bloodstain pattern analysis. Okay, I also stress on that because the bloodstain pattern tells you it's clear cut. I think for about we had 2 rounds of the video here. Still section of the video here by Mr. Zion, and you saw the blood. You out, you spill, you move again. And you see it, you see the trail, you see how it's in like what we refer to as bolus, okay? You see it and it goes all the way to the fence. And then this young lady, of course, she drops over there and passes away, okay?
Let's bring in this. Okay, as we reported earlier, this photo, more news coming in. This person we are hearing is one of the person that was in extensive. The identity of this individual yet to be established. The authenticity of the story is yet to be established. But we are also hearing that there were 4 individuals after Princess entered the facility in Cantor Hall. Now, we try reaching out to Moses Carter late this event. He yet to confirm that police is carrying on the investigation. Having heard it, let me draw the parallel line here. Talking about blood patterns, talking about this scenario of the late princess. Can we insight into the late Nyeswa? Because there seems to be some sort of a connection here. The former Auditor General.
Yes, we can. So. And I'm glad that you raised that issue, Mr. Zion. You see, the bloodstain pattern analysis says something completely different from the finding. One, I can tell anybody for free, Nyeswa did not jump from his bedroom down to his courtyard. The bloodstain pattern analysis does not support that. Now, you may want to know, say, but how do you know that the bloodstain pattern analysis did not do that?
Answer that question.
I mean, it does not. Yes, the reason is this. When the body was discovered, KMTV and Spoon TV were both at the site for about 15 minutes before a single officer of the Liberia National Police appeared. Fortunately for me, and unbeknownst to those media operators of the said agencies, their cameras were focused exactly where I needed them to have been. So I already knew basically what had happened, before the matter even went forth with them, going through the scene, the house and whatnot. And here again, we had in an enclosed area. If you were to do a side-by-side comparative analysis, you will see that the blood at Ninswa's residence was basically like a pool of blood. Okay, if you just in the middle of the courtyard, and by all indications, and by fairness to the decedent, I can tell anybody for free again that Ninswa was killed in his courtyard. Let me repeat. Ninswa did not jump to his death, but he was killed in his courtyard. Now, it's possible that someone engaged him in the yard, or he came outside to meet a person or group of persons, and he was murdered in his courtyard. He did not jump. The same way how you cannot say that, and of course, I'm not surprised that the police did not find any laceration or stab wound on Princess Cooper's body, because the bloodstain pattern analysis does not support that. If you look, you see it's almost like you have different segments, okay, from a layman's standpoint. But when you look at the blood, you see, because, and here's the thing. So when a person is injured, especially when there's internal injury, okay, they tend to cough blood, sneeze blood, or basically it's like they're vomiting blood, because like if the blood is in your stomach or so, you're gonna spill it out because you're feeling. Okay.
So that let me
yes.
ask you this, just from what you're saying now, from your own past experience, can a kick or a punch or some sort of a heavy substance, not substance, but a heavy instrument, not cutting you outside but hit you in the stomach, can it cause such a blood to come out of your body?
Well, yeah. So with bodies we see a lot internal hemorrhaging. The person is coughing up blood. Here in the U.S., that's one of the reasons why, in fact, you're told to wear your seatbelt. Okay, because you can basically collide into an object, be another vehicle, whatever it is. You could collide into something else, and if you're not wearing your seatbelt, you could slam into your steering wheel. Okay, and you could have internal injuries.
I got the point. For me, I just like to, and like I said, all speculation at this point. Let me ask you this: what most likely will be the cause of that kinds of blood coming out of the human being? Because it seems to be a large pool of blood that coming out. What will be the cause of that kinds of amount of quantity of blood to come out? And she didn't just start and fall immediately. You can see the blood, maybe about 4 or 5, 2, 3, 4, and then to the wall. And in fact, I think from just looking at it, the one that hit the wall must have come out of her mouth with a force.
Let me play this other one here.
What will be the cause of that kinds of stuff?
Well, if a person was injured, now again we need to look at the body itself forensically to kind of narrow it down. But in terms of whether we're going left or right, basically, if a person is injured, they can be subjected to having internal hemorrhage, and they're bleeding, and so they can of course pass out blood. The same can happen also even if the person is poisoned, given some poisonous substance. Okay, so those are just some of the possibilities as to how a person will have such an injury. But now let me say this once again: that facility has securities.
Yes.
It is impossible for someone to not have seen the young lady in the back of the yard. Let's assume even if she did not walk from the street and to the back of first of all, it doesn't make sense. I've been to at David Junction many times, even when it's rainy or so, because when I'm there, you know, I like to go around and take the you know, and ride the pampa and enjoy the breeze. I've never just decided out of the blue to just go to a
But
particular building.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that same
Yeah.
building that we're talking about, when I was in Liberia just a few weeks ago, a friend of mine who is an engineer, has an engineering firm, but he was doing some construction work. And we went into that same building to purchase some construction material. And
Yes.
but the material that was purchased, we got some from the store, and the store is like a corner. And when you go in on your right hand, I mean on your left hand side, there's a store counter that goes all the way almost to the bike, and then it goes, you know, L going towards your right inside the store. And on the other side, they have all of the other equipment. But the most important thing is when you order for certain material in a bike of it, that's where they get all of those things coming out of. If you want a wheelbarrow, if you want a steel rod, and all those kinds of stuff, you have to go in the bike there. And I went in the bike, I saw the place. I saw the bike of it because we were getting they have trucks that usually wait outside when you buy, then they load your stuff on the truck, and they will let the truck go in the bike for them to load the stuff. I went in the truck, I went in the bike with the truck where they had to load the stuff. So I'm not going to say that I'm familiar with the place, but I think I have a clear picture of what you're talking about. So that area looked a little bit familiar, to say to speak. But I just thought that I'd throw that in there.
Well, yeah. So, like I said, you know, the LMP needs to investigate. There are security guards that are there, private security guards. Somebody had to have seen it is impossible for somebody to not have seen.
Now,
Okay, this young lady go to the building, or even when she was back there. But now here is the situation again. It is also possible from a criminalistic standpoint of view, focusing on Liberia. So securities, private security, they are not just only security, they also serve as extra help as well. So it's possible, as a possibility, let me say this, maybe the security guards were called for whatever reason, and now that means that the place was basically abandoned in the sense that any evil deeds would not have been noticed. Okay.
One of the interesting things is, why was she, who is not an employee, because in the back of that building, as soon as secluded for those who are working to be able to load things onto the truck. Why would she be in the bike unless being invited?
That's what I'm saying. That's what, yeah. So,
you know, I don't see anybody just walking in the store and going to the bike. It never happened. When I was there, they have security in the front, by the way. They have security guy in the front, by the way. And in order for you to go past the store and go in that corner that take you in the backyard, they also have people standing there. So why was she in the back there in the first place? You know, that's something that people need to look into.
Now, let's have this other conversation here. Something, and this is where, I mean, police, when investigators go on the scene, they try to do their preliminary and all of that. I don't know whether that was done. And usually I would say, well, Liberia is a small America, you know, whatever we think about. But this tendency of when these sort of mysterious deaths takes place, and you just have police coming in, and you don't have the doctors or county district attorney, because they could be the first people to give the briefing, to give the public a little picture of exactly what have happened. We don't know what was the prompt or instant investigation that was conducted. Did she use the store to go down? Which way she actually used? We yet to get a clear cut as to how this happened. What we do know, there was a phone call placed. Now, with this, what we're hearing this evening, this individual here, people are talking it, they are saying it right now. There was an extensive conversation to the extent that director her to go to the bathroom, whatever reason, we don't know. We are yet to establish the authenticity, but there are other four involved. Having this here, giving her a clear cut now, we might potentially, if it is done professionally and if investigators really find interest, because she's a Liberian, this thing here, and I'm surprised for Moses Carter to jump the gun to say that there is no foul play. You know,
Well,
I don't
let me
know.
well
Maybe
let me
I'm going above my shadow here, but that's a serious concern to see somebody of the without I'm coming without us getting instant report briefing from the chief medical examiner from the area there, whether Painesville suburb, also to come out to face the media. Hey, based on our initial investigation, using with our medical expertise, with the examination XYZ. It has not happened. Nobody explained anything, but the police chief spokesperson came out, and then we're hearing the family person say there was something noticed on a forehead. That's a contradiction.
Well, yes.
Excuse me, Doc, Mr. So, while I take your point, I can also assume Mr. Carter is not a slush. Mr. Carter is a professional. We all know that. So most likely, before coming out to make such a pronouncement, knowing fully what the implication coming from him, I'm sure he must have had some sort of a consultation with his medical staff. So I mean, you know, I think to
What
just
you when it comes to this here, what is it time now, Dr. Tai Copper? Is it time now that we change this sort of narrative when these sort of circumstances, these sort of mysterious death? Is it time now that we have the medical people? We see it here when things happen, the medical people play their part, the district attorney play their part, the county or district police they play their part, but everything seems to be in one bucket.
Well, yeah, here's the situation. The Liberia National Police has deficits. I basically contributed over, I would say, roughly about 20 hours of man time, unpaid time, to the Liberia National Police when I visited Liberia, to help address some of these issues. Based on inadequate training and experience, you will have some of these issues. So here's what should have happened, or here's what is supposed to happen. A professional examination is supposed to be carried out, put forth to the police spokesman, and the police spokesman would now basically lay things out for the public. But of course, there's now a huge contradiction between what was said by by spokesman Carter versus what was being said by Dr. Momo. Okay, so of course, yes, we can all agree that there's some contradiction, and we can't say that it is easy for one to believe what Dr. Momo said, because this young, the body was being examined in the presence of the coroner and other members of the LNP. So it's not like he just made up stories. He did his documentation in front of them. Even though it was not sufficient, because like I said, the body has to be examined forensically. Okay, a person would not just go to an area and just start spilling blood, and where there's security and nobody heard anything or so, because definitely she was screaming or crying for help. Because first of all, if a person sees themselves, spilling out blood, they're gonna try to call for, if even they got their phone and nobody around, to call somebody or so. There will be an attempt. Okay, so basically, that's the situation. And again, given the fact that the environment, or let me just say the death scene, is where it is and the circumstances surrounding, I repeat, this case should be looked at from a criminalistic standpoint of view until proven otherwise.
Okay, so what could be the key things we should look for when it comes to the cause of bruise on the forehead? Because
well, so the thing is, during a forensic examination, the body has to be examined externally and internally. With that being said, in men, or let me just say in individuals with not a lot of hair, it can be a little difficult to appreciate injuries, just as, from the get-go. The same way, the body has to be open, it has to be looked at, like examined forensically in order to, basically rule in or rule out certain facts.
Okay, Walt, I want to play this here, but I'm wondering whether Facebook will not shut her up, because it's a very emotional one. When her fiance,
Mr. So, if it's graphic, I will advise we don't do that.
Not really.
Because not only will we have issue with Facebook, but our audience perhaps are not quite prepared for that. So you can just give a description of what is it, and
I just wanted to see when her fiance really entered the facility, it was a really emotional one. So, what could potentially be the outcome of this? There are a lot of things been happening, and we can't get to the bottleneck. Now, with this here, while it was in the making, another young man was found killed in his own bedroom, I would say. So, what should be the focus of the government or even for the family? I see the resilience of Dr. Momo. He was very much illustrative. He did a diagram, things that he saw, things that he sees with his physical eye. Despite it was a tough something, but I think he kept hanging in there as a professional and did what possibly he could do. So where would this end?
Well, before the dot coming, let me just give some sort of my own point of view here from the perspective of the government. I hope the government, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the government, but these are some of the things that we keep talking about here on this platform. The government of the Republic of Liberia is responsible for the safety of all its citizens. And I think if you have something of this nature, that have every Liberians and every social media or everywhere else are claiming for answer. I think the people who are supposed to come out and give us this information need to do it and do it quickly. Other than that, you're going to have people coming in, speculating, filling in the gap, and having Liberians to be confused as much as anything else. As a result, even if the government perhaps is doing their best, but by the time they come around to give us the true information, things have already gone out of hand. They have worked with a doctor before. As immediately, they have the doctor number, I'm sure. Immediately, when these kinds of things happen, you know how good he is. He has helped you before. He didn't charge you. Why will you not contact him? So at least he will be on the same page with you guys, providing him information. And then when we invite him on our show, he will be speaking to say this is the kind of information, because he's not somebody that will come and hide anything. And you need to be truthful. You need to tell him truthfully so he can come out. But they don't want to do that. And look at the kinds of confusion between the doctor from the doctor who came in and gave the report and that of Moses Carter. It seemed to, I'm not too sure whether they were on the same page. So these are kinds of things that really giving this government and many issues, even if they are not involved in doing things to people and what have you. But the fact that you're going to allow 2, 3, 4 days to go by and allow citizenry to speculate and improvise whatever it is they want to do, that's very dangerous for all of us.
Okay, so man, Amos George, senior contributor, is here. Mr. George, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. So. Good evening, Mr. Labor and Dr. Cooper. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay. All right. We will be taking some phone calls here. This is a national issue, but I'm trying to bring the video here of the friend that placed the call as well here. Let me go to this phone number here quickly and see here. Caller, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, are you there? We're not hearing you.
Can you get it now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm calling from the trouble. And like the Rockefeller said, we find out about what happened. This was a gift these instances that happen in Liberia. There was no one cut. We cannot have a society where, like Mr. Cho was saying, it's the responsibility of government to make sure its citizens are safe. We cannot have a country like that. Liberia has, Liberia is gradually turning into a third state where people are living in fear. Okay, how can a lady enter a tent based on what Dr. Rockefeller is saying? You see the trace of blood.
The late Princess.
And drop it down. Okay, and up to today's day, nobody has come up with any conclusive investigation to make sure what really happened to this girl. Police say one thing, other people say another thing. It's troubling. Okay, and the thing is, for those of you who are running social media, we have, it's your responsibility to make sure that our people are informed. We cannot have a country that people live in fear. People live in fear out there. And these are things that are very troubling, and that is why when you see investors are going to Liberia, when these things are happening, people look at these things internationally, it reflects negatively in the country. It's very unfortunate. Gifty, and another man died on Broad Street. They killed those two brothers on Broad Street, left it there. Up to today's day, there was no one caught. Swap, no one caught. What country is that?
So then, my brother, and I see what is, because I try to wrap this thing around my head as well. Is where is these people, the advocacy, the human rights group in Liberia? Because we're talking about this thing, and believe me, some crazy thing going to come next week, and that's true. And that's media shift based on developing news. So where are these people who they claim to be advocates? How far are these people? We need to question their advocacy, because it's just like if you open a bottle of Coca-Cola and that stuff come or is spilled, and that's it, and we just wipe the table because we're just talking about princess. But believe me or not, by next week, some sort of crazy thing going to come out, and that's going to be the end of the conversation.
And let me just add this into the discussion. Just a few weeks ago, Mr. Thomas wrote a book, and just a chapter that was spoken in that book. We meet up the street. Because flag bearing information in our book. Okay, so why now people are dying every day? They are bothering people. No one is telling you. No one is saying anything. Okay, because the subject of the book and flag bearing mentioned in a chapter, from just a paragraph. The street. So this is the kind of society we have. It's very scary, like I was saying. It's very scary, and I think we have to be more proactive on the.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you so much. Let me pick up this other call, and then I'll go back to my contributors here. Thank you so much. Christopher Roti Tobasi is on the line. Christopher, what's the point?
Yeah, thank you. My point here is I want to say thank you to the Dive studio tonight and of the participants. My issue here is the information dissemination. I think I like Mr. Carter. I respect him for his work, for his job and all of that. But I think it's about time Mr. Carter be suspended for the blunder he made. And I'm just being straight up, Sometimes Mr. Carter gets confused because he comes with a degree or background in journalism, and it's different from policing, and sometimes you gotta be careful how you speak. The Liberian old man in Papelman or Australia in market almost in a language you use. So when you say that there is no process through your investigation before it started, before it even begins, then it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? What Mr. Carter mean by the people selling in their business where we can't close the place? You're supposed to secure the crime scene at all times. Even if somebody died for God forbid, in my house here, when the police arrive, everybody will have to leave so they can do their work. Secure the crime scene. What are people selling or their business establishment? Secure the crime scene. take enough photographs, start your investigation, because the responding officer, if you don't secure the crime scene, we will run into a problem.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much.
We're talking about a body, homicide. And you come here to tell the public that there was no foul play without the coroner, the medical examiner, the pathologist. Nobody said, you're not talking nobody.
All right.
And you come here to tell all these things.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm mad. That could be anybody's brother or sister.
Right.
All right? And that thing needs to stop. Enough, too much is too much. People die all over the world. People die every day in inner city. But at least it's about time that we get results. It's about time that the police start doing the right thing. All right? The doctor is an expert in his field. The police should go. I'm looking at it from the totality of the circumstances. It could be anything. Anything is possible. We talk about blood spatter. Somebody bludgeoned, somebody hitting the girl with baseball bat, the blood splashing on the wall. Everything. I'm considering everything.
Okay.
Letting nothing to go.
All right. Thank you so much.
I think the police in Liberia, that's a serious. I mean, they are working, but they need to start doing the right thing. You get on the scene, you interview witnesses, you apprehend suspects. I mean, do something, man. Be professional here.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Let me go back to the team. Dr. Rockefeller?
Yes, sir.
This is a question coming from one of our viewers, Omaru Kengo. He said, do you think they should have done an X-ray or CT scan blood test to the body by now?
So the most important thing in this case that we need to look at would be a forensic toxicology test. So where we're checking to see if she was given if there's any sort of substance in her body. Doing an X-ray will not be, well, it depends. If the government is going to have a forensic examination done, a forensic post-mortem examination done, then an X-ray would not be necessary given the circumstance, because the X-ray, I mean, it's going to be a waste. You're already doing the exam. You're going to have the body fully examined internally and externally. So therefore, that won't be necessary. And same with the CT. The CT is just the second tier radiologic exam that is done after an X-ray.
Okay.
So to answer your question,
this is what Mr. So is written, is tweeting earlier. Christopher Tobasi, I saw the video of the area where the incident took place. Why was the area not secure as a crime scene and people are still in the house? These people should be in the custody of the police for interrogation. This happened in the vicinity of that building's material. There was lots of materials, witnesses, or items such as the mask. The men and gloves, curtains, and tissues should be prioritized in the investigation process. The government should not be tight-lipped. Now, if you watch most of these videos, you see a lot of stuff with bloodstains. Usually, like in this Western world and other modern society, when these things happen, when investigators come, they don't overlook anything. They take these things and they go to do a DNA or do this sort of forensic to make sure. This brings to the questions if we even have the capacity, and I can say we just do not have. But the little resources that we have, I think they should have done that. We don't know yet. And up to this point in time, nothing is coming out. Let me bring in Mr. George and then you guys. Mr. George, what are you hearing from your folks?
Today, I got some souls saying that something similar to what you're trying to say. There are people that they're looking at that they believe are connected to this thing. But what I wanted to, I've been following the program, I didn't have the time to come on. But let me say this again. The police has already undermined this case.
How?
The mere fact Moses Carter came up to make that pronouncement, he undercut anything about this case, even if this girl died of natural causes. The public will still have suspicions. Why? because there had not been a complete forensic report on this girl done on this lady to establish anything. Then how did you arrive at there was no fireplace? Now, I heard him yesterday. He said the report he read was given to him by I think, the medical doctor or the chief pathologist or whoever from the government.
Let me go you right there. I heard that time when he was on the sister network television.
Yeah. So
can we adopt a new system? Because when it comes to medical giving medical report or medical analysis, that medical practitioner or personnel should be the ones to face questions from the journalist. The police should focus on the criminality aspect, how the president and other people they can talk to, witnesses and all of that, but all being put into one bucket. You should have, by this time, the district attorney, the three groups of people should be having a joint press conference. And each of those groups should
let me jump in. So what I was going to is that the chief medical examiner, the pathologist, whoever, they should handle that report. They should be there to answer questions from the press. Now, the second thing I want to look at, Mr. So, that premises, the people that own that premises, there should be a person or people of interest now. The police should have these people somewhere talking to them. But I heard yesterday from Mr. Carter, they talking to people, they just 10 employees were there and they call them and they stay continuous.
No. Find that talk to her there just before it went off.
The problem here is that compound, that building, nobody enters that place before a permission. So I expected Mr. Carter to be forthcoming to tell the public, hey, we got somebody that invited this lady. We are talking to these people. But nothing of the kind. He just made a blanket statement. That raises eyebrow. And the people that involved, that got that property, they had not, maybe most of the time, maybe he must be younger. But these people are noted for some terrible thing in Liberia. So when they are involved, I expect the police to seize the poor traveling document by now. Mr. Sampson told know the story on Center Street, Apple Berry. He was stranded to death in the supermarket by Lebanese people in Liberia. So, I'm not saying they did it, but you look at pattern history. People need the security. Now, the security guys normally in Liberia, they are almost like horseball to the people they work for. Most of them had not drawn any timeline to us to tell us when the lady entered the premises, all the security, who all were on duty, and what are they now.
And who was
you don't have to give her the name or what, but give some general overview of what the people you're talking to. It's not happening. This is now what happened. The public don't trust the police. But let me ask Dr. Cooper something before I leave. Dr. Cooper, is there any foreign agent that will enter, that somebody will take into their body to cause them to vomit like that? Any foreign agent? Do you think, you don't have to call name, but is there any foreign agent that you can think of that somebody will drink that will cause them to throw that kind of blood out?
Yes, there are. But of course, as you rightfully said, I won't be calling names of agents, right?
Yeah.
But yes, there are. But now the thing is also the possibility of those agents being in Liberia is not going to be easily found. Where there are some that are easily found, but you don't just have direct access to it. But basically, you see it you see it every day. Basically.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me say this here. I think the color that cut earlier, I think we all are frustrated at this point. But I am not here to defend the government, but I just want to be truthful from my own perspective. I was in Liberia just a few weeks ago. Liberia, yes, with this kinds of situation that is happening, people will have concern of their own safety and what have you. But I can say this: the entire 1 month and 2 weeks that I was in Liberia, over millions plus will go to bed at night and will wake up the next day. Over a million plus Liberians. So the government, as far as I see it, and I want to be, I'm not here to defend the government, don't get me wrong. But let us also agree that the security apparatus under this government is also doing their work to protect Liberians. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't protect this woman. That's not the issue. We don't know what happened.
What are you saying?
Basically, what I'm saying here is this: that even though the government has a responsibility to protect all of us, but I also want to say that the government is doing their best to protect us. Because when I was in Liberia, not once did I hear of 2 or 3 nights or something like that, people die in a row. So I'm saying to you, Mr. Center Right, please let me finish my point. The security apparatus in Liberia under this government, I would say that they're doing their job, as far as I'm concerned. It's my opinion, from my own perspective. Now, this incident that happened, they should do more to investigate. I agree. But let us don't say that perhaps the government or whoever is in Liberia that is leading us, that they have some sort of a security lapse. That is not true statement, I would say, my opinion. So and why I'm not here to defend the government. I want to be truthful. I want to say what I've observed when I was in Liberia. I slept in Liberia. There's no currents in Liberia. I slept in the house, the whole house by myself in a secluded area. However, I am here tonight talking to you. So Liberia was a chaotic setting. Liberia was a chaotic state. Then perhaps we won't have this thing. So let us don't just take everything and say this country is not safe. I mean, we got young people.
No, please. I just want to throw that in there. Let's have a conversation. That's not what we are saying. When it comes to security, I also blame Liberians, the way we behave, the way we act to one another. I started an incident here the other day. I was driving. When I was in Liberia, we both of us were there. I used to go home almost at 2 o'clock in the morning. After dropping our guys off, I alone would stay, go out, meet this police and do stuff. But what we are saying, we ought to have responsibility as a citizen, as a people. With this incident, it happened broad day. So by this time, Liberians should also be patriotic. Somebody should be able to say something to the police. It did not happen over the clouds of darkness. It happened broad, hot day in the country. So even if the police is not getting to the battle line by this time, we must be able to get a patriotic. But here is the thing, that this is the danger that in Liberia. When something is happening to people like here, when somebody sees you're in danger, they either call 911 or they will come and rescue. Unlike in Liberia, everybody cry their own cry, everybody fight their own battle. And that is bad. We need to stop that. Now, before Amos come in, and I think we will get to this here. This picture here that we are hearing now, this individual, there's a length of conversation. The first journalists that were on scene. We are having a conversation and there are a lot of information coming from this person. We are hearing about other 4 individuals that were involved. So probably, all we are asking investigators to step up their ties with the limited resources. How this lady left Capitol building, who she talked to, somebody who was in that building. And I'll tell you what, when we went to bury our mother to want to get some things from the store, and it's quite true. Sometimes when you go in the store, right, when you pay for something, you will go another almost quarter of a mile of good distance walk to go pick up that. And when you see those places, what they call this prison shelter in Abidjan, I've forgotten the name. I mean, they are huge warehouse, dark. Well, I said, no, we're not going to go inside there. You ask a store boy to go bring it because, I mean, it looks fearful. So this also brings to mind it's time for government to also take a complete revision or infiltrate of these places. We're hearing people are resident there. Are they renters from Fawaz brother? Who are they? You can't have, like Moses Carter said, what, how many? 6 or 8 apartments or whatever. I just can't remember the exact name. You can't have that number of people or apartments or individuals brought there without single person witnessing or saying the incident. That's just hard to believe. Papa George, go ahead, and then we'll go to Dr. Rockefeller.
Yeah, Mr. So that's what some are saying. The police is not doing enough job on the cases. This was a broad day. I mean, I'm saying that the police doesn't have to put everything out there to the public because the investigation is continuing. But give us some idea to know how far you're going.
Go ahead, my Josh.
People working and living in that place. This is, you consider as a, you can't just get up and just walk and go into the building. No. To go in the back, you can't do it. Someone will have to give you a permission. What the police has done thus far. Let's know one of our sister stations, one of the journalists went back there, took a tour of the building. He got at the back where the generator is sitting.
We're going to be having him here soon.
He was a cameraman, pinned our gloves, cutting with blood on it, spilled all over there. On it. Now, how that lady got out of that place to go outside is one way. The gate is sure the gate had never been opened before. So how that lady walked out of that building to get outside? Police must tell us something. These are the issues. But Bloku says something. Let me tell Bloku something. Because you went to Liberia, I was in Liberia too. I was there. The security in Liberia, it is risky for you to come and say, oh, I was there, everything the government doing. No, it's risky. And that the Cooper can attest to it. There are so many communities in Liberia now. You cannot walk there 7 o'clock. Places that we grew up. You cannot pass any place. You can't take shortcut again in Monrovia, 7 o'clock. They will tell you, the people in the community will tell you, don't do it.
Let me go. All right.
Hold on before you go. Let me address.
Let me say this.
Hold on, Mr. So. Hold on, Mr. So. Let me. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Josh. Go ahead, finish your statement.
Hold on, Mr. To. You are talking. I gave you
time. No. Go ahead. Finish your statement.
Friday. I don't know. You saw a video Friday. The guy that they said they killed in Jalatan. Maybe you are not seeing that video. The man, they said his wife left him in the house in the morning and took the children to school. When he came back, they saw his staff in the room. There's a school right in Jalatan there, 1st Street. The guy was reporting.
The wife too should be investigated.
The guy was reporting. And the police, when they put the body in the car, they took it. But this girl body, this has shallow, I can overshadow that story. But this is the situation. Because you went to Liberia, nothing happened to you. Perfect.
Mr. Joyce, please, it's not to be personalized. Hold on, Mr. Joyce. Let me say this here to all of the audience that are listening to us. This platform, it is not an opposition platform. This platform, it is not the government platform. Those of us that are on here, we have the right and we have opinion. We can express it freely. Now, if I say to you that while I was in Liberia, from my observation, that didn't see any kinds of stuff that you would say that this, because of this government or whoever, that the country is not safe. I reject that. And
okay,
I have the right to say, I don't have the right. Will you please let me know?
Listen,
You have people right now that are all over in the social media right now condemning my statement. That people now that are saying they don't even know what I'm coming from anymore. They don't even know who I am anymore. I am not here to defend the government. I am not here to be in opposition to the government. When the time comes for me to say something that the government is doing that I know is not right, I will say so. But if I say something, if I see something that this government is doing that I know is good, I will say so. Well, let me tell you, all of you that are listening, my ain't saying you ma, you ain't saying my ma. I'm a cool. Nothing you can do to me. Let me just
hold on. Let me go to this caller here.
I'm saying to you because
so
that's what I believe, and that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it.
George, hold on 1 second. Let me go to the caller here, and then we'll go to Rockefeller. Let's stabilize the conversation. 862 number, are you there? 862 number, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead quickly. 40 seconds.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
I just wanted to comment on Mr. To's statement. I'm very concerned about it. I know it's personal, that's his personal observation. But my point here is that, okay, when you talk about a country being unsafe, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are cutting people's heads off every day. No. But these sporadic instances, that it leads to a country being unsafe. You're talking about a lady who is, who was killed a couple of days ago. Ninswa was killed. Gifty was killed. I saw a video today of a pastor who was sitting in the keke, and somebody really threw him in the street. They had a knife in his throat. They almost killed him. These are the instances. Not because Pastor Mumbo here. He's got it.
So here is the thing.
So it means that Liberia is safe.
Okay.
And most of the time, I go to Liberia. Okay. I live in a compound. I drive a car. But does that mean that everything is well with people in Liberia? No.
Okay.
So I just want to make that clear.
All right.
There's a distinction between Mr. Togo and Liberia being safe and the ordinary people that live in West Point, in Ghanarsville, in Bannersville. They are unsafe.
All right. Thank you so much.
Again, sporadic instances. Those are indicators.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Rockefeller. Here is the thing here, and I don't think Mr. To's statement. I was in Liberia as well. I was driving 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Sometimes my sister will be calling, "Where are you?" I have to drop my guys. But here is the thing here. I think we need to approach or focus on the issue. Let us not be distracted. When people are to do certain job and these people are not doing it, we must call these people out. And we Liberians, as I said, we also have responsibility to protect, to be our brother's keeper. I am concerned this thing happened in the day, broad daytime. It happened in the day. Why up to this time, patriotic Liberians, somebody can't even come out to give a police a tip off. Let's assume the police not doing it. I understand some of the statement Director Carter made to just come to a conclusion. I thought the examiner should face the media. I thought the district attorney should be there. The police should look at the criminal aspect of it. But this is not being done over and over. Let me go to Dr. Rockefeller. That you've been listening to this conversation here. Well, let's
yes. Okay, so real quickly, there are some comments that all of you have made that needs to be addressed so that the public will have a clear understanding. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start off with yours first, Mr. Zion. You talk about the examiner. The body was not examined. Well, first of all, in all things considered, Liberia does not have a medical examiner. That's one. Liberia has a coroner. Okay? So that needs to be clear. The body was not and has not yet been forensically examined. I can tell you that for a fact. The only examination that was carried out of the body in the presence of the coroner was by Dr. Dolo, who's also a family member. Now, here's the thing. Not every victim in Liberia will have a family member who is a medical personnel, precisely a medical doctor, to perform such an exam. So this was just a rare instance. Other than that, the body would have still been secured at the morgue, okay, at the JFK. Now, Mr. George, you mentioned about the issue with gloves and face masks, bloody gloves and face masks being at the scene. Again, this ties in with what I talked about earlier with inadequate training, okay? So more than likely, and this was based on the video, Yeah. Those were not there when when the body was present, and I think it was what? It was a KMTV or Spoon TV that was there, and basically doing their live coverage. But when the body was after the body was removed, that's when those items were found there, meaning that those who transported the body, they removed their gloves and masks and left it there, which should not have been done, because in this case, that is considered as contamination of the scene. Okay, because it could also be misconstrued and consider that those who let's assume that this lady was assaulted and murdered. It could be that those were left there by the perpetrators.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So that should not have been the case at all. So basically, that is what we refer to as a crime scene artifact. Okay. So that is that. Now, to you, Mr. Brown, you are saying what you mean, but you don't mean what you say. And yes, what I mean about that. When we, in this case, we're not saying that the government is not doing things for its people. Okay, because even in the United States, that's the reason why when you drive, you are expected to keep a 40 miles per hour speed limit, because there's not police officer at every street corner to ensure that citizens would do that. On every major city, on every given shift, you have at least 100 police officers at the most on duty. But so you are expected to uphold the law. Now, the issue here is the government providing goods and services for its citizens extends to the era of death, meaning when there's a questionable death, the government is supposed to establish the cause and manner of death. Now, in the case of Liberia, that is not so feasible, because one, you do not have Liberians who are forensically trained like some of us are to carry out such exam. I said this time without numbers during different cases because of the blunders that I have seen over the years, and apparently will continue if things continue to remain as they are. So because of that, the government of Liberia will be subjected to mere criticisms and ridicule because the proper elements have not been put in place. We're not saying, or this argument is not that Liberia is like war-torn Somalia, where, well, we had our own share of the war. So let me just say a war zone where you cannot go and have, sit down, even have a cool glass of water or rest your head and sleep. But when these instances come about, the manner in which they are handled subjects on the government, like I said, to being ridiculed. If that was the case, like here, okay, that body would have been autopsy. The body go to the medical examiner office, and in fact, it depends on the time. Like, okay, that time of the day, let's say that was in the US, because it's getting close to the end of shift, it will be until the next day. If that girl was deceased in somewhere like Cook County, Illinois, or in Los Angeles, California, the body will have been examined the same day. You see? So yeah, it's all about having the system in place, Mr. Brown, to address certain issues.
I understand that, Doc, and I get your point quite right. I mean, I agree with you. However, in the process of Liberian government being ridiculed, as you correctly stated, I'm not here to defend the government.
Oh, no.
My point here, Mr. So, why is it my picture is not up? Mr. So, are you starting again all over again tonight? Mr. So, why is it my picture is not up when I'm talking? I am talking right now, and you have I'm having a conversation with a doctor, and Mr. So is not you can't just come out here. I'm sorry with picture business. No, I am. Let me finish my point. That as I was saying to you, in the process where Liberians, because of a mishap or inept behavior of the government, and the government is now being ridiculed, as you're saying. That's fine. If Liberian people have the right, that's their government. They can criticize the government anytime they want and say whatever they want to say about the government. However, the fact that they have the right to criticize. I also have the right to speak my mind, what I believe to be true.
Yes, it's true. But you must defend. You see, but your defense is not on par with the issue.
No,
you see?
Yeah, good. Here's the point. Here's the point. What brought this argument from me was that I was reading some of the writing that people were saying, calling the country a debt trap at this point. When these kinds of statements are being made, Mr. So the Liberal is on the floor. Please let me finish my statement. When these kinds of statements being made on this platform, where we are, this is not a government platform. This is not an opposition platform. We invite people. We come out here ourselves and express ourselves freely. So if I see these kinds of stuff and I sit here knowing what I know and don't say anything, then I'm contributing to the false statement that is being made. So I'm not here to defend the government. I agree you can criticize, but also, since you have the right to criticize, make sure and accept that the liberal progressive have the right to speak his mind. And that's what I'm doing.
Did you go and brush your talk at midnight in Morovia?
Excuse me?
When you're in Morovia, did you go to hang around brush your 12 o'clock midnight?
At 7 o'clock, I go to bed. I don't stay out after midnight. What am I going to do midnight?
No, I just asked you a question.
No. In fact, Mr. So can attest, I don't go out from my working place. I go straight to that place to go lay down.
Yeah, hold on. I want you to compare when you are growing up in Morovia to today's situation.
There is no comparison.
Fine.
There are people right now, man, let me just say that. Let me just disabuse you on that question. Beautiful question you asked, by the way. Let me just disabuse you on that. There is no comparison. Okay. When I was growing up, we didn't have civil war. Now you have civil war. There are people that are living in Monrovia right now that don't give a heck about people's lives. However, whatever government that is there now, I'm not here to defend CDC government, but I'm saying the fact that CDC government is in power and millions and millions of Liberians will go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow morning. Let's say that.
Mr.
Central Right, the liberal.
Let me tell you one thing.
No, wait on. You can't interrupt the liberal, please. You know the rule. Now, let's try to separate that from this bad incident that the government has somehow bundled so badly that any baby who has no clue, like the doctor would say, I have no clue on that, but yet still you can see how bad they mishandling this situation. That's a separate thing. But you can't use this opportunity to try to say what I know not to be the truth. And I was
let me just tell you, Mr.
We're not going to have an argument on this here. Let me bring this here to the doctor. Myself, I used to Dr. Rockefeller. Let's look at this. What I'm concerned with here, when I was in Liberia, up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I dropped my guys and I will be going home. What I'm concerned with here, let's look at this here.
Right.
Preliminary investigation. This is where my disappointment is coming from. Preliminary investigation by the police. They should establish the criminality. We should be able to know by this time which outlet was used by this lady to enter that facility. That is very crucial. Which outlet was used? That will give us all an idea who were there and whether it was an interaction. Was there anything bought in the store or whatever, and how can she end up being in the basement here? I don't know if you see this here. Let me see what I can play this here. But I guess you can see it. If you can see this here, and I see I don't know whether there's a police use this down here as a secure area here. This little coil or rubber or whatever that they tie here. Does that suggest, because we didn't hear anything, does that suggest that's where she went in, or where did she pass? Any idea, you think? You heard what I said, Dr. Rockefeller?
I don't think he can hear you. I think.
Check your mic. I think his microphone. Check your mic, Dr. Rockefeller. Are you hearing us? Oh.
Well, yeah, 1 second, please. I have volume issue here.
Oh,
I can hear you now.
Yeah, but you are audible now. You saw what I was playing? You saw it? I know he's driving too. Okay, so the Lpr.
Yes.
While Dr. Rockefeller is working on that, okay, he going hopefully he will come back here. My concern, initial investigation should give us an idea. I mean, if not conclusive, to give on an idea what happened, what not happened. He's back with what you saw. What I was playing.
Yes, I saw the tip. So, and I heard what you were saying. So basically, there's no way, like I said, there's no way that someone did not see that young lady, you know, in that facility or vicinity. It is not possible. It is just not possible at all.
How long should it take the police to establish which route, what I would say, to the front, to the side, or to the back? How she end up in the almost, should I say, basement or in the backyard? How long it should take the police to establish that?
Well, so now this comes in. Now this way, you know, detective training comes in. So with the proper training, you should be able to extrapolate information that is needed. But again, now that's another topic for another day. So we just have to wait and see what the police, you know, comes up with.
With your expertise, what can you say? What is the identity of this sort of death? How do you term it to be?
Well, it's hard to say. Well, it's hard to say because one fact, I have not had any physical examination of the body. But with regards to forensic components, as in the blood stain pattern analysis, this case has to be looked at as a questionable death based on the possible criminalistics until otherwise proven.
Meaning she was murdered?
Meaning, well, it could, anything. I don't want to just say murder at this point, but I would just say questionable death until you know, a full-fledged investigation is carried out, and then we can go from there. But ruling this as a natural death will be highly unlikely, and it will be quite shocking. If that's the case, in all true honesty.
Okay. Okay. So
because let me say this once again. Yes. You look at where this young lady body was found. Remember, if I am to carry out and if I am to say harm someone, that would be a perfect environment to do so. One, the place is enclosed, so the you know, a lot of people will not see me, and two, you got a generator that's going on. So that person, you know, I mean, no one. What's the possibility of someone hearing and crying out for help? Okay, so with these factors, this is why I've been saying before earlier on the show that it is very important that the government look at this case as a criminal matter until otherwise proven.
Okay, until otherwise proven. And
yes.
Let me go to, yeah, I mean, we all were hanging up, go after everything 2, 3 o'clock. But I'm concerned here. This thing happened in a day, and by this time we thought there must be the GOL or the investigators should have a lead into this whole story here. I heard the police chief was saying his cell phone, they will look at the call records and not necessarily the phone call. What should be happening if you were Dr. Rockefeller, if you were the chief lead investigator in this whole thing here? What are some of the things that you are going to be the first thing you want to lay hand on to help you to facilitate smooth investigation?
Okay, right. Well, so in any criminal investigation, the first 48 hours is very important. So the security guards on shift will already be, you know, detained to answer questions. That's one. Number two, everybody over there will be, when I say over there, meaning that around during the daytime will be called to answer questions. And the call log, we're gonna see her call log to see who she spoke with. So with that being said, you know, that we'll be able to at least put things into perspective.
Yeah, because he said
okay.
Call log, phone call is not important, but we can.
Well, I listen. No, I listen. Yeah. Somebody asked about if her phone, the physical phone.
Yeah.
Okay, and what he said was they are not interested in the physical phone per se, but rather the call log.
But yeah, this is why I have a little concern with. They are not interested in the physical phone. I think all of these materials can put together and lead us somewhere, because that physical phone, it was the latest information that we can get from that physical phone, who placed the call, whether it was or not. But eventually, that person will lead us to who or she that was directed to place that call to the late princess. So that other puzzle, don't you think is that important? Because potentially that could be I can say for sure that's the last caller before she went there, but that call, or they could trace the number of calls and see how she ended up being into that place.
Well, yes, so the phone records would definitely show something, but you know, having the physical phone, it depends what you're looking for. Having the the call log also tells another story.
I'm hearing that the physical phone is in possession of the police.
Yeah, Mr. So.
1 second, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Moses Carter said something yesterday. He said the physical phone, because it's a private phone, so in order to take that, you also have to have court order. But
is he wrong?
No, he's right. And one thing, and he's saying something he said that I tend to disagree with, that the phone is not really what they want is the call log. No, you need that phone. Pictures could be in that phone of people that she had been talking to.
Or text message.
Text messages, but the picture of the people. So you want they will go to see if she got any picture. Who are these people?
But I'm hearing the phone, the physical phone now is in possession
yes,
of the police.
You can see, because my phone got pictures of people. And if something mysterious happened to me, it's also important that the government take a look at my phone, because there are people there who I have picture of. The men know, maybe I have talked to them. I have told them something about something going on in my life. They can contact those people to see when they spoke to me and what move I was in. So that is also important. But that's why I said earlier when I came on the show, the people in that building, I want to know from Moses Carter, who invited that lady in the building. That's the first thing I want to know.
So let me interject here. I mean, that's a very good question. Yes. Again, it ties in with the fact that we need to, so her call, you see, here's the thing. Both the call log and her physical phone needs to be examined.
Yeah.
Because communication is not done only by by phone calls. In fact, when I was in Liberia, actually, it was cheaper even placing calls as in VoIP, so on data, right? So WhatsApp or Messenger, because of the rate. Now you're not going to get call log to show her Facebook Messenger or her WhatsApp call log, or even her text messages. So the physical phone needs to be examined. Now here's the thing: most people in Liberia have they'll have a password to log into their phone. So if that is the case, and if no one knew her password, it could be a bit of a challenge for them, based on the level of technology in Liberia, which is basically nothing, to easily unlock the phone. Okay, so that could be a stumbling block.
They can do that. You know they can do that. They can contact the phone company once you have the legal order.
No, the phone company cannot unlock the phone.
It's important to establish the device. I know you know that it was a video call, but whether it was an iPhone or it's an Android, that's another thing. Because if it is an iPhone, believe me, you have Apple to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, the problem, no. You see, here's the problem. Why you need to understand? You see, here's the problem here. Here in the Western world, if you have, for example, your Samsung that's with T-Mobile, you can't just go to Verizon and to get Verizon service and then to just put the Verizon code, the chip in, and then to start to use it. If the phone is not an unlocked phone, it is not going to work, because what? The phones have been sequentialized to those respective networks. Okay? Here in the US, we have what's referred to as pinging. So if you were on Broad Street and you talk to somebody who was on Crown Hill, okay, waiting for that person to come to meet you by the Ministry of Education, okay, you call the person. After 5 minutes, the person did not show up. You call them again, the person answered the phone, and this time it shows that let's say they are Johnson Street Bridge. So with pinging, there's going to show the different towers that were being used, and it's going to show the person coming towards your direction. Okay, so that's one way how it works. The other way is you will not feed off the tower on Broad Street if you are in the Old Road area. You see what I'm saying? Yes, so you can't tell law enforcement that no, you are not on Broad Street in the Old Road when people said they saw you there. Then they look at your call log, your call history, and it shows that you fed off the tower on Broad Street. And you're telling investigators that you are on the Old Road area. So basically, the problem in Liberia is that we have a, first of all, we have a scientific deficit. Okay, some of us went to school, were well rooted in the sciences, and we ended up to where we are. So the way that some of us look at these things, the country is basically blindsided to it.
So okay, the transition.
So let me
intercept your communication. It defines your location. It tells people exactly your current location now in the communication. Correct?
Yeah.
So
wait. Okay. I got two questions coming in at once. So I need you to repeat your question, Mr. Zion.
Yeah, that what I was asking you mentioned a very critical point. If I were in Oro and communicating with something, and once I leave Oro, maybe around Capitol Hill proximity, I've been fed by another tower. So that change of transitions right there are no longer in Oro, but all other communication now, the tower on Capitol Hill is the one that processing my call. Is that the case?
Oh, okay. So for example, like let's say if you got some friends that work in the rural area, right? You will hear them tell you that they got to go to the top of the hill in order to place their call. Okay? That's because they have to feed off the tower. Now, in the Western world, it has also been placed in the technology setting where it is established. And the reason why that was done is because before, if you remember, so some years back, we used to pay, like for example, you got your phone plan, you have your 400 daily minutes, then unlimited night and time. You remember those days? Now, what was going on is that people were getting credited because they would say that, oh, you know what, the whole week I couldn't use my phone service. But now, and then the company will have to credit you back. So, and of course, the company is doing that. I mean, the company is not generating revenue. Okay. So because of that, that technology was put in place to show that indeed you did use the service, and yes, where your service was provided from. The same thing. There we have trademarks in garbage bags, your printer that you use. So if you go ahead, if let's say for example you are printing out, you go and you sit on your computer and you type threats, terroristic threats, okay? The paper can be examined and it can go back to the store because the printing setting has a forensic footprint in it. And that would say the machine that was bought, and then of course the store can trace it back to who bought it, because when you purchase, especially using your debit card, all of that links in. The same thing with garbage bag. So if you are a serial killer, okay, we can know the type of garbage bag that was being used, and then we can start to work it out with DNA and all of that. But you don't have that kind of system in Liberia. I mean, for Christ's sake, you don't even have a national ID card system in the country. So what I'm saying to you, this is looking at Liberia maybe in the next 100 years or so. But for now, that is not even in the dream.
Well, let me add a little bit, Mr. So. Let me add on this here. First thing, that there's a new system now where they have a Liberia ID that is being established. I saw that. I wanted one of those. I just want to point that out. But the second thing I want to add on this also is that this cell phone system in Liberia, from my understanding, they have Lone Star and they have Orange. So, for example, when I got there, my phone was supposed to be unlocked, but they wasn't. And then I had somebody on Dupo Row was able to unlock it for me. And so I was supposed to use Lone Star. I was using Lone Star, and whenever that I use Lone Star and dial orange number, they take more money from my mini immediately. So what was happening, according to when I went back to Lone Star, was that whenever you use Lone Star and instead you use Orange and you want to share the tower, it costs more money. So Orange has a tower, Lone Star has a tower. So before going to my area of Grand Gila County, I have to have Orange. They have one of those cell phones they sell for $10. And it's strictly for Orange. So when you have that, you go into those areas where they have Orange tower dominating the area, you get reception very easily. So basically what I'm saying here is, if the police, if they have interest in that, I believe that they can trace those things, because these are, if it is a government investigation, those kinds
the government cannot, no, Mr. Brown. The government cannot do it because, one, the government right now cannot afford the financial burden of that level of technology.
Financial issue,
No,
let's forget.
Hold on now to our point.
Hold on, doctor. Hold on. I'm talking. Let me finish here. Let me finish my point, then you can respond. The point here is, forget about the money issue. I'm saying, if the government is going to investigate, which is a life and death situation, in this case, somebody have died, and they want to provide a credible information to the Liberian people, I'm sure there are laws on book. Liberia is not a banana republic. There are laws on book in Liberia, where I'm sure the police and the investigator can access those laws and apply those laws to be able to ascertain whatever information that is needed for them to carry out their investigation. So for us to say here that because they don't have the money and therefore they're going to cut corner, those are kinds of things
let me ask you a question. What was ever brought forth regarding the call log from Albert Peters and Gifty Lama? What was ever brought forth regarding the call log of Harry Greaves? What was ever brought forth regarding the call log of the cases? I don't know what to, it just becomes annoying when you start going through these lists. The fact of the matter here is, the government does not have the requisite institution in place as a result of lack of education, lack of training.
That they don't have the law on the books.
Where's the point when you
but here's the thing. The only law is you must go to court to get and to subpoena a record. Everything,
that's the
things
law.
that are, yes, and okay, that's the law. And I just ask you, the other decedents doing other death investigations, did you hear any finality as it relates or related to the call log? The fact of the matter here is this: there's gross incompetence when it comes to death investigation. Okay, yes, the government may be able to provide electricity around the country, even everybody getting it 1 day a month. Yes, the government may be able to bring in gas so that people can move from A to B, but there's gross incompetence when it comes to forensic death investigation. This is a serious matter. Okay, so that is the problem.
Okay, we're going to be wrapping up here. So let me ask this open box question. And that you're going to be the last to answer, because you're going to give us some little bit insight. We are in a new week. What happens if investigators can't lead us the way through to have a first big briefing of first-hand information as to how this happened, or principal suspect in this? What would be the next thing? The liberal in the coming week here, if we can get a lead from the investigators, this thing happen broad day. Somebody should witness something. That's my concern. And we citizen people, people that are there, we must help to get this thing out. Nobody can tell me that they didn't see it. or the place just turned dark and out of the sudden everybody went blind and only these doers were there. Somebody might have wasted something.
Mr. So, I agree with you. I think if for some reason
information, they say this gentleman here, and there are other 4 people we don't know yet, and we'll try reaching out to Carter to confirm it. But of course, they are investigators, so they can't even also come also tell her exactly. But can we say we want to get somewhere?
Mr. So, it's also a concern to me, and I believe to many Liberians, if the government cannot put themselves together to actually provide some information, usable information to the Liberian people, not necessarily divulging the investigation process and what have you, but at least give us the information so that we don't listen to these so-called money quarterback and what have you. Now, Mr. So, with that said, I also want to say here quickly that even though the government is supposed to be the people that give these type of information and what have you, but let us also recognize that the challenges in Liberia are huge. So for us to transfer our knowledge of what is happening here in the United States and hoping that these kinds of behavior or whatever it is that the people do here, that we can transfer it to Liberia immediately and try to get a result that we want, it's not possible. Liberia, those of us that have been visiting,
you are not answering my question.
But Mr. So, I don't have to answer your question. I've already answered. I don't have to answer your question. You gave me the opportunity to express myself. Let me do so. I don't have to answer your question. I don't have to answer your question. I'm saying something. The opportunity is there. The flow is mine. Let me utilize that. So the point here is this: those of us that have the opportunity to go to Liberia, you can see from your own self, you can see that there are so many challenges in that country. So we must appreciate our brothers and sisters that are there doing these things. Whatever we agree with the process or not, that we should appreciate whatever they're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not doing things wrong. If they're doing things wrong, we will say so. But in the process of saying that, you should also appreciate them. Then you can criticize. We can still criticize, but you must do so with respect and you must do so with responsibility. That's my point.
You are unable to answer a simple question.
I don't have to answer your question, Mr. So it is not a courthouse.
Okay, yeah, I understand. And liberal will always remain liberal. So, Mr. George, quickly, I'm out of time here before I go to Dr. Rockefeller. My concern here, the happening of this whole thing, is not under the cloud of darkness. It was daylight, maybe 12:01, people actively moving, transacting, businesses, transport, people moving here. My guess, other people were in that store to do business. And this individual going in there, I would say maybe up front now with the limited information, maybe to go do business, whatever the person I call, whatever it is. But I'm saying here, we must be able to get something. I mean, somebody should come out to tell the government, to tell the police, or Patriotic Liberia should come. Oh, yes, I saw her. Yes, she was talking with so. This is what people do here when somebody is dying, when somebody is at a crossroad. People will place a phone call, even the next door neighbor. I'm not saying our 911 effective as the one here, but somebody must come out to say something. What happens at the end of this week here if we can't get a major lead from investigators?
It will become a problem again for the government. And I hear you continue to stress this thing. It happened that somebody has seen something, yes. But the society which we have, people don't trust the police. Most people believe that when they go to get police information, police tend to go to put them in the pocket.
Is that a good judgment? If you don't trust?
No, listen, Mr. So you see here, you get tip. There's anything they ask for tip, you get it, you are unanimous. They don't even talk about you. But in Liberia, somebody will receive and say, oh, that John Brown, the one that get that information. Now you put that man's life at danger. Because the people don't trust the system. And this is why these are some of the problems in Liberia. The police supposed to work with the community is supposed to work with police. But when there is a mistrust it becomes difficult for government or police to solve crime in any country. And this is what some are saying. Police must build trust within the community.
Yeah, that's according to the core community and police relationship.
And when we talk about community, we're not just talking about workplaces and these people that work in these places. And this is what my concern is to the police. I have not heard this.
Okay, I'm getting a light here now. Let me go to Dr. Rockefeller here quickly here, and now we're going to. Dr. Rockefeller.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully, I know you are a basic guy, but hopefully when we get some more details, hopefully we'll tap into your expertise. I'm concerned with the daylight with my limited. I'm not an investigator, but we, you know, this is where questions and stuff come from. It didn't happen nighttime, 12 midnight, 1 o'clock a.m. or so. I mean, whether there was quarry in the city at that time, but completely there was a broad daylight. And I assume people are going in there to transact as well. It's a business venue. What happens at the closure of this week? If we can't get a major lead, the investigators can tell us to give a little bit an idea as to how this lady, who placed that call, and who are some of our facilitators that potentially need to her death now. What will we be thinking about?
Well, you know, it's going to be very much downheartening, shocking, disappointing, however you want to say it. But, you know, again, given the resources that the LNP has access to, it may even go beyond a week, 2 weeks, who knows? You see, like I said earlier, you need the required expertise in order to bring you the different levels of success that you need. Death investigation has several components. And if you cannot, you know, as we say in our parlance, if you cannot gene or haul, then of course you're going to keep running into dead ends. Okay, so the only thing we can do at this point right now is, you know, you have a family who has lost their daughter, cousin, sister, niece, you know, loved one, whatever you want to call it. You know, we can only hope and pray for the best, because all in all, this situation has shocked a lot of, well, in fact, it has shocked the country and people in the diaspora as well, just because of where it happened. And nobody seemed to have seen this young lady at all. So we can only wait and, you know, see exactly what happens as you know, we get into a new week.
Yeah, all right. Heritage is reporting that UAL is requesting for an immediate autopsy, so hopefully we'll know what happens. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for this conversation here. Hopefully tomorrow at May Day, it was reported that the political leader of the People Liberation Party is suspended, is expelled. From what we know here at LPR, it's not a correct news, it's misinformation. We've been having talking to some of the officials. Hopefully the Secretary General, Daniel Duboyat, will be here to tell us the latest, the status of Dr. Lauren Cassé, and we're going to be having our conversation.
Mr. So before we take leave of you, I just want to say this here publicly. I want to thank you for the opportunity. Again, I want to say thanks to the audience that continue to follow us. But this is what I want to say here. When we come out here, I believe, when we come out here and face the camera, it's almost like being naked, so to speak, because we speak our mind, and that it's not like we expect you to agree with us. We expect you sometimes to disagree with us, and that's okay. That is very, very suitable for such thing, to come out here and disagree with us. However, let us also be mindful, the audience and ourselves, that this particular platform, it is not a platform for the government. It is not a platform for opposition. This is an intellectual platform, as we always say. And therefore, as an intellectual person myself, I must have the opportunity, Mr. Soul, I'm speaking, please, if you don't mind. This is very serious to me. So
yes,
please,
I don't know why you are
I'm
so
not going to break your time. I just want to make
hold
my
on one
point,
second.
please.
I don't know why you are so addicted with these people. We have said this.
Well, Mr. So, these are our
Yeah.
audience. They respect
Yeah,
us.
no,
Let
but
me finish my point, please. You're taking
let me
time
get
away
the
from
first
me.
guy.
You're taking
Why
time
are
away
we
from me.
whining
Let
about
me
the
finish my
why
point,
are we
please.
whining about the
Let me finish my point. You can say whatever you want to say. Let me finish my point. Our audience respect us. And that's why they tune into us. And so we have to respect them in turn.
I
So
see the reason.
basically, my point here, Mr. So, is that when we come out here, we have to be honest. I can't say because if I say something, Mr. Coleman gonna say they would disagree with me. Therefore, I will not speak my mind. If I do that, I am being intellectually unsincere to Mr. Coleman and to myself. And therefore, as a liberal, I speak my mind. And you should be expecting that of me. Or shut up that, then I'm no longer capable to serve.
Then you're responsible for it.
I do not, hold on, Liberal, I do not intend to relegate this conversation that we are having. And I said this before, because you are so addicted to, because some of your people here tonight say, oh, I'm a Liberal tonight, and now with you. So you are panicking, you're going to have a sleepless night. But we have said it here before, we don't come here for entertainment purposes. We come here to give the information as it should be, fair, balanced, proportionate. Even when they say somebody is the one to do it, we always try to reach out. Like the case of Cassette, we haven't talked about it because I wanted to make sure to get our first-hand information, those that are in charge. But I know you're going to have a sleepless night again tonight because people, you've been bashed, you've been slashed, and so you're so worried about that. Leave these people alone. They are our people. Let them express their views. Let them express their opinion, just how you can express some ridiculous one on this network. And we managed to deal with you because there are no bad bush for a child. The liberal progressive of the Liberian Public Radio from Saxton, Sacramento, Samson Toll. I want to thank you so much, Emma Joy. What a bad night again for you. I think all of your people want to come out. They're going to come our way now. So you worry, you're panicking, and all of that. But you're going to be fine.
He's scared. He knows he can go back to Liberia, so he's scared.
Oh, yeah. He's. I mean, we like you said, we are not enemy to the government, so not the opposition. We always try to give people a fair share, but sometimes we call both sides. You know, when there are issues, some people choose to come, not to come. We reach out to a PLP. We want to know what is the status of their political leader. They send out our press statement, and the secretary has agreed to appear right here. So believe me, we're going to have a fascinating. If it goes well, I want to do it tomorrow, May Day, in the special edition. But I will keep you posted. George, the Liberal, I want to thank you so much, and Dr. Rockefeller, and of course, our many viewers and listeners, your comments, your tweets, all will help us to do what we're supposed to do. This is very serious. Yeah, this is very serious, and we don't want people to play politics with it. It's a Liberian, it's a daughter of Liberia. I think your time has come. These business facilities, the government should take an infantry to review. You can't have 55 things going on at the same time. I told you, in Liberia, I want to get stuff or money, something. The place to open the place is like a cave. Like you go in the cave. I told the man, I'm going there. You tell your people and go drink it. I want to go there. That was Valentine era. It's terrible. So they need to take an infantry. I mean, it should be a lesson learned period for this whole thing. You know, there are a lot of people in the town that wouldn't know why it is, but our concern, the police, the investigation,
I just tell you,
due diligence. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much.
Mr. Todd, know a Berry case, similar Berry case. Berry case, Mr. Todd, know.
That's what he did. This guy, I don't know, you're soothsayer, the next suit I wore. That's the same thing similar he wore until he saw it. I have to call him out. He went out to go change the car. The man bought about 15 or pro different suits.
Yeah.
Engineer, you're supposed to be wearing your article that said, yeah,
the man got to patron down Liberians. He got to infuse money into the economy.
That mean talking about one day. I mean, you start in trouble. That mean talking about that.
I'm not going to respond to you guys tonight. I will deal with both of you on another day. Tonight is your night. Enjoy yourself.
This night is a horrible night.
Money into the Liberian economy.
This night is a horrible night. But guess what? After this program, I want to give you a call to console you, to comfort you. and make sure you have a good sleep so that you will be.
I don't need your consoling because I know exactly what's coming my way.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much and have a pleasant
Thank you.
day.
Thank you, Mr. So. Good night.
Hallelujah. He's in the heart of praise. Hallelujah. Give me the heart. In the morning when I wake up.
All right, folks, that does it this evening. I'm Alfonso and Salt of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to thank you so much to our many viewers, listeners, for your time with us here this evening. Believe me, your comments, we usually go back to read these things to help us to enhance our way of doing things and to make sure that we don't take side. And this is where the challenge is in the media industry. And part of that is the poverty. And so people try to do everything. And so the media has become more or less entertainment, the creative sort of political satire and Liberian lost drama. And this is where the challenge is to distinguish, because why? What you process, it does have an impact in your decision making, and it plays with the mind of the people. And I know because I talk to people extensively, people are in search of news. These people that come to watch, to view, to listen, not that they don't have time, but when we come here, when it comes to national issue, we must take it serious. Whether it's on LPR, it's on Spoon, it's on SKTV, it's not a personal thing. You don't have to like people. Discuss it, give it a fair shot. Make sure you get to the party so that the conversation will be proportional. Don't just throw things out there because you want to entice people. It's absurd. It's hurting our democratic process. It's hurting the society. And it's not being fair to the viewers and listeners. Until then, have a pleasant day. I want to be right back here, right here again on LPR.
He deserves everything. Oh, the worshiping. Oh, he gave me life. I was present.